Welcome to the Arena Decklist Podcast. I'm Jerry Thompson, joined once again by Brian Gottlieb. Last week, we had a guest on, Todd Anderson. Hope y'all listened to that episode. Hope y'all enjoyed it. Brian, welcome back. Did you listen to the episode?
Nope, I did not.
Of course not.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I love, obviously, both you and Todd. It has been a trying week, Gerald, and that puts us in an interesting position for this podcast.
Well, okay, hold on. You know what's good for trying weeks is listening to podcasts.
Maybe that's true. There's a lot of things I could have been doing this week to try and ease some of my load, but ultimately, I've just internalized all of the stress and just sadness that I've been dealing with, and what that means is I am now a powder keg. So this is a dangerous podcast. I am out of fucks, Gerald, just completely out.
Welcome back.
And there's some stuff going on, and here's the best part, and people are going to be so thrilled when they hear this, because you just told me this, and I am over the moon. You've been busy. You've been off Twitter.
I have been off Twitter.
Okay. You have no idea really what's going on in the Magic world right now.
No, not really.
Nothing that's happened in the last 3 or 4 days. And
no, so you're like, oh yeah, there's like this thing pissing me off and this thing pissing me off, and then you're like, and then there's the $1,000 booster packs. I'm just like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
I was like,
amazing.
Can you link me? And you're like, no, absolutely not. I'm just going to tell you about it on the podcast. So this is, me not going on Twitter. I occasionally like go on, look at my mentions, see if there's anything going on there, check my DMs, and then I just log off for a couple days.
Great choice. First of all, I support this entirely.
It's been working out okay.
Yep. I understand that. It has left you, though, with a blind spot to part of the 30th anniversary celebration of Magic the Gathering, which has been going swimmingly thus far.
So this is just Vegas, or is this just like their year-round campaign? Or
this is part of the year-round nonstop celebration designed to, give everyone their fondest memories of the game and reflect back on 30 great years and
Nether Spirit. Give me
look
back Nether
forward
Spirit.
to 30 great more years coming down the pipeline.
I'll take the under.
Me too. Here's what's going on. I'm gonna keep it brief. They are reprinting beta, essentially.
What?
I know.
Isn't that against the rules?
It is, but they are doing it with a special card back, 30th anniversary card back.
Isn't that against the rules?
Well, they've said that before, Gerald. So that's a very good question, and I think.
Which is weird, because then they made DFCs, right? So it's like, why can't you just remove Deckmaster?
Sure.
From the card back and whatever. Yeah, anyway.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. They're gonna reprint beta. Some things are missing. Earthbind comes to mind. Crusade.
Yeah. All the shockers.
Yeah, those cards will not be present.
So wait. How much of this are they doing? And also, does that mean that the Legends cards that people opened in Dominaria were just things that they reprinted too, or did they actually find that in a warehouse?
I think they actually found that. I think that's a very different thing, because this is being, clearly reprinted, clearly stated as reprinted, different card backs. So
right, but
here's the way they're putting it. They believe that they are still adhering to the reserve list. At least that's their official position.
Are these cards going to be legal?
No, they're not legal anywhere.
Okay, so they're reprinting collector edition.
Yes, that is a very, very good way of putting it.
Okay, I'm more fine with that.
Oh, hold on. If they were reprinting collector edition, I would be right there with you. Even if it was expensive, even if it was $1,000, which that's it's still a high end product, but I could get on board with that. I think there's like enough of a market for that. These cards are iconic enough and special enough that, sure, I say go for it.
Okay, well, keep telling me about these $1,000 fake card booster packs.
For $1,000, you may have 4 fake packs of beta, which are not good to play anywhere.
So they're $250 packs.
$250 a piece. They come in a $1,000 pack, though. You get 4 of them.
Yeah, but I could like buy them in singles off eBay or whatever.
Theoretically. I'm sure somebody will sell them that way, yes.
All right, continue.
Then they're they're beta packs. They have similar coalitions. You get a rare per pack. I guess there's like old border versions and new border versions that you can possibly open. But in general, somebody has like made a simulator for opening these packs, and you get 4 to 5 rares when you open them. And maybe you get a Thought Lace, maybe you get a Farmstead, maybe you get a Black Lotus for 1,000
per pack or per 1,000?
Per 1,000. Per opening 4 packs, you end up with 4 to 5 rares. It is very similar to the original beta coalition.
Yeah. Did OG beta have the occasional like double rare booster, or what's the deal?
It did. Okay. I don't think that's where you're getting the double rare booster from. I think it's just like they are straying from it in some ways. They have like old frame stuff and new frame stuff.
Okay.
So that is where you can potentially get like the second rare, I think. And I also don't know about the island. You know how they had the island on the beta rare sheet? Yeah. I don't think they're doing that again. I mean,
also it was missing Plateau.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with that. I know there's like some weird stuff going on with the art. I believe it was Quentin Hoover's family was posting on Facebook. They found out this art, Quentin has passed away. They found out his art was included in the product when they did the spoiler for it. And as far as they know, I guess they don't feel like Wizards has the rights to the art. So that's a thing that is currently happening. Beyond that, there's a lot of weird stuff going on with the art. Like it's super zoomed in some instances. And I got to send you a picture of this Sol Ring. This is where.
Please do. I just tried to go to like Goldfish and it just auto played Saffron Olive streaming. I don't know if people could hear that or not, but
I didn't hear it.
Okay, good. So. And then I went to Mythic Spoiler and like Unfinity is there. Let's try Scryfall. Last time I went to Scryfall, it was down. I was like, oh, I'm actually gonna like do some work. 30th anniversary edition full preview. God, Scryfall, you are incredible.
Yeah, beautiful site. Let's see if they have the version of the Sol Ring that I really want you to see. Come on.
Okay, yeah. So these don't look like beta cards, right? And they say 30th edition in the expansion symbol thing.
Yep.
Which is, dude, that it has edition in the name. It is collector's edition.
Yeah.
But they're rounded corners, not like the collector edition square corners, and it's not like the weird rounded corners like Beta had or anything. Which again, like those cards are illegal. Let's be real.
This is not the Sol Ring. Oh, here it is. Oh, so if you scroll down in this, you get to the old borders, and look at that Sol Ring, and look at how it's cropped, and look at how it's cropped with Mark 10 and signature like right on the dividing line, where it looks like they just didn't give a shit. They're just like, whatever, just put this together, throw it out the door. It is so like, I don't know, for some reason that one thing in this product makes me angrier than anything else, because it shows such a lack of care for a product you're charging $1,000 for 4 booster packs of.
Well, right, but they can. So
yep. They can.
Yeah, I don't understand why the art is zoomed in.
Me neither.
I mean, they could do that with basically every Magic card, right? And just it's like was this what the dude did in like the OG like Gaslight movie, where it just like move the furniture in the house or whatever? I know that some of it was like making the lamps not as bright or something.
Yeah, it's like slowly turning down the lamps. That's what gaslighting is based on.
Right. Okay. So yeah, you could just like move it in, like a 1/4 of a millimeter or something, and then people are just like, no, it's different, and they'll just be like, no.
Yeah. So basically, there's been infinite takes about this, as you would expect.
So there's multiple Sol Rings, right? And I see one.
Yep.
Where it's not zoomed in and the signature is still in the bottom right or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, there's an especially ugly new border one. Like it's in with the black cards if you're on Scryfall.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. That one is especially gross.
Yeah, that was the one where I was like, I don't like this, but whatever.
Yeah, what I was saying. A lot of takes on this.
So okay,
All the takes.
you can pay $1,000. You can
Yep.
open a fake mock sapphire.
Yep. Not
You-
legal anywhere.
You could buy these for 5 cents a booster pack from China or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So are people like, I imagine people are going to buy this, like some people are, but like what is the general consensus? Are people like, hell yeah, I want to throw thousands of dollars at trying to open a fake ass Mox?
Every single take I've seen is either hating it and saying it's not for me and I'm angry that they don't make anything for me anymore, or saying invisible hand of the market, people will buy it, so they're justified in making it. It's not for me though. So nobody thinks it's for them. I haven't seen anyone who's like, I can't wait to buy this. I just haven't seen that take, not one time. I'm sure that person exists, by the way. I just haven't seen it, and they're not in my space. But what I think
they are probably on MySpace though.
may be true. What I think virtually everyone agrees on is that these will sell out. I don't think there's any chance they don't sell out.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be some amount of like speculators.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is this like print to order or whatever? Or
they say limited edition. They didn't say numbers. So
gotcha.
Here is where we're at. God, I have so many things I want to say about this that I'm like, they've just been boiling inside of me for so long now, and I'm probably going to skip some of them and be mad about it, and maybe I'll just keep talking about it week after week after week until I eventually just talk myself raw and I don't have the words anymore.
Man, that's what I'm here for, is just listen to your unhinged ranting.
Good.
You know?
Good. I'm glad you could support me in this moment when I really need you.
I'm here for whatever you need.
Here's the first thing I would like to read to you. And I got this from the Missouri MTG Twitter account. This is an old Facebook post from Jesper Mirforce. Jesper was one of the original artists on Magic. Involved in a way more than like an artist would be now, I believe. Like it wasn't just, send Jesper some art. I think Jesper was like in the room and had a lot of influence over things.
Bayou, Tropical Island, Scrubland, Tundra. I'm looking at the duels right now because I knew that he did a bunch of them.
Okay, so this is a Facebook post Jesper made September 2nd, 2018. And I'm just going to read it word for word. It's a little long, but bear with me. Back in the old days at Wizards of the Coast, we used to joke about how cravenly greedy it would be to release cards that you could only get with a high purchase price, like only available in a booster box, etc. We often said that if we did that, it was because we were out of ideas and the grasping suits had totally taken over. Then we would laugh because we would never allow that to happen. We called them chase cards, and we knew their single purpose was to squeeze even more money out of obsessed players. Even back then, we understood 100% that it was in effect taking advantage of people with certain mental disorders and that it was the wrong thing to do. We knew that many players would see it for what it was, a sign of a total loss of respect for our players, all for a pathetic short-term gain. These cards would have been aimed squarely at benefiting shareholders, not to benefit the players. It would have been disgusting. This is why we never did it, though it was discussed.
Yeah. I remember seeing that post, actually.
Hell of a post. And just very prescient in its view of the world and what would eventually come to pass. I think this is the most like unbelievably greedy thing they have ever done. That doesn't mean people won't buy it. I'm not suggesting that for 1 second. And I just keep thinking, you and I have talked about this a lot of times. I just keep thinking about X-Men 1 from 1991. That is the thing I keep coming back to, where, yeah, a lot of people bought X-Men #1. And in the moment where there was all this hype around X-Men #1 in 1991, it was worth a lot of money. There was a huge market for it. And because it was quote unquote scarce, it was a limited edition. There was no real scarcity, though. It was just scarce because people said it was scarce.
Right.
And in a way, I feel like this represents the final transition of Magic from like something which actually holds intrinsic value to something akin to a fiat currency, where its only value is that enough people have agreed it has value. Because there was always this underpinning of like, I think of this because I've had to describe Magic to a lot of people without any background whatsoever in gaming, specifically when I was in law. And,
Yep.
people find it very interesting what I'm doing. And lawyers tend to ask very similar questions because they're just trained to think about things in the same way. And one of the things that I was always asked, always, like without fail, almost everyone I described the game to was, what is stopping you from just printing your own cards? And that's a great question. And I always had a really good answer. There's a small but dedicated group of players that cares a lot about tournament success and participating in organized play. And in that scenario, theoretically, you need real cards. Judges are trained to look for real cards, and you could certainly be disqualified if you don't have real cards. And, everyone knows that. And that kind of makes this underlying almost intrinsic value to these cards. Like there's a reason they are worth money. You want them as game pieces. There is no reason for these cards to be worth anything. They are pieces of cardboard that they have arbitrarily placed at $1,000 for 4 packs, which you can make a facsimile of very, very easily that would do all the exact same things. There is no difference in what your proxy will accomplish versus what this 30th anniversary of this product will accomplish. And yet they still charge $1,000 for it, and people have bought in. And it's any crash that has come in the history of economics is almost always founded on the idea that people perceive value and create value where there is no actual intrinsic value. And I will tell you that I have never seriously considered selling all of my Magic cards in all the time I've been doing this and all the things that have ever happened with Wizards. I've never really thought like, oh, I'm kind of uncertain about this, I should cash out, because there always was just like this underpinning and this incredibly devoted fan base, and these things were getting older and older and scarcer, and there was more and more just true demand for people who loved and appreciated the game. I'm thinking of selling all my Magic cards. This is that egregious to me that I think this might actually be the thing that inspires me to say there is no longer any confidence in this market. They will strip mine it until there is absolutely nothing left. And the company is both morally and creatively bankrupt at this point. And I do not want to hold whatever amount of assets I have in Magic cards at this point.
Morally, yes. Creatively, I don't think so. It's not like
I've got more feedback on that, but please respond.
Well,
I've talked a lot. So
listen, creatively, it's not like this is their only idea. I know that Jesper said that this would be like a last resort or whatever, but it like that's not the case in this case, because the company has grown, the market has grown, there's all these different formats, all these different things that they could do to continue to strip mine the market. And I think that the timing for this sort of thing where you get to brand it as like a 30th anniversary edition like that, it makes sense. If this was a thing that you wanted to do at some point, then it would make sense to do it now, because I don't know, like you're going to get to 35, but they don't know if they're going to get to 40 or whatever. I think that they probably believe that they are, but it's like, oh, should we wait 10 years to do this or whatever, or should we do it now? I think it makes sense to do it now. I don't think
they're going to do it every year for the foreseeable future. They will reprint dual lands. They're just going to do this over and over. I guarantee it.
That might be true. Yeah. I mean, if that's the case, if this is not just a one and done, then yeah, we're back in Chronicles land, right? I mean, again, I guess you can't really play with these cards in tournaments. I mean, these would make for pretty good like proxy vintage tournaments, right?
Yeah.
Because I played with some crap proxies back in the day. Let me tell you, just like Soul Ring written on the back of a card or whatever. So, I think that there's some use there, but I don't even know how often those tournaments fire, if at all, anymore. So who knows? But yeah, I think that if they do this every year, And honestly, dude, I could see them doing it multiple times a year, knowing them. But
Mhm.
then, yeah, obviously, things are pretty bad, and selling your stuff kind of makes sense. But I would like to think that this is just like a one-time cash grab. And then maybe you do it again in 5 years or something. But every year is a lot, especially if they're not playable in anything.
Well, they've shown such great restraint, with everything else they've done,
Well,
obviously. Can
yeah.
I can I come back around to the morally and creatively
It,
bankrupt thing?
anyway, creatively, I think that they have more ideas than just this. The timing just works out for this to happen. You know what I mean?
I agree they have more ideas. They're mostly shit. Let me tell you what else was
Yeah.
announced at this wherever they announced this. The Post Malone Secret Lair has officially been announced, so we are headed to the Post Malone Pro Tour. It's only 10 years away
Yeah.
at this point.
That was a matter of time.
Yep.
You nailed it.
It's just
with
coming.
that Twitter post.
I can't. I'm going to the Post Malone Pro Tour, the first inaugural Post Malone Pro Tour. I will be there.
You're not, but your Twitter post is going to be referenced like Jesper's post is now.
So that was announced. Final Fantasy Secret Lair. I like Final Fantasy. I don't give two shits about this product. Assassin's Creed Secret Lair. I've never met a person who feels strongly about Assassin's Creed. I know people have played it. Never met someone who feels strongly about it.
Again, those are like the MySpace people, or I don't know, more.
I guess so.
More like the 4chan people, but you know what I mean.
Also announced the Brothers War. I don't know the exact product. I think it's like it might be the collector's boosters and like the box product of collector's boosters. But they're coming with a special die. And as opposed to the usual 20, which would appear on a 20-sided die, it's the face of a transformer. Of course, because what is more iconic in the greatest Magic story ever told, the Brothers War, this iconic thing, than trans-fucking-formers? Nothing is more iconic than Transformers. And also, there's Transformers all over the box set, too. You can open them in a pack. And why wouldn't you want to in the most iconic Magic story ever told?
I mean, Hasbro owns Transformers, right? Like, Wizards was also working on the Transformers game and whatever. So I kind of get that, I guess.
In the Brothers War, the most iconic Magic story ever told.
Listen,
this is where they insert it.
There are kaijus on the basic lands. So I totally understand how some fourth floor duder saw that and was like, yo, let's get Optimus Prime in here. When you said dye, I thought you were referencing like the cards were like dyed a certain color or something, you know? No. I was like, look, see, they're not out of ideas, man. They got plenty of ideas, but no, yeah, like an actual D20, that's pretty
D20
loose.
with
that's
Transformer
pretty fucking loose.
So anyway, all of this is coming to me like this is just bashing me in the face. I see it on Twitter, boom, 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 one thing after another, and then someone sent me a Magic card that they wanted to get my take on, in terms of just like, what do I think of it from a design perspective? And this is a card that is legacy legal. It's
what was the Andrew Brown phrase?
Which one?
He's doing the Twitter card of the day or whatever.
Oh, masterpiece or
disaster or something.
Yeah, it might be masterpiece or disaster. So here's a new card. Legal in Legacy, legal in Commander. It is from the Infinity set, so we've already talked about like whether these cards should be legal or not. But regardless, it is, and this is a card you can play in Legacy. And I just want to read you the card as it's written. There's no way you know it. I would be amazed if you did. This is Myra the Magnificent. It's 2 colorless.
Nope.
Blue, red, legendary creature, human performer. And I'm going to read it's a 2/4. I'm going to read every word of text on this card.
All right, 4 mana, 2/4. Let's go.
Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell from your hand, open an attraction. Okay. X tap. Exile target instant or sorcery card with mana value X from your graveyard and choose an attraction you control that doesn't have a midway counter on it. Put a midway counter on it. Whenever you visit that attraction, copy the exiled card. You may cast the copy without paying its mana cost.
Yeah, easy, simple.
That doesn't mean a thing. It is complete gibberish. And even, it's not even about like it has a couple keywords that I don't understand.
No, they reference things that are not explained on the card.
It's garbage. Like that. There's no person who can like legitimately say they care about like aesthetics and design and like what it means to make
It's
good.
a fake set, dude.
But Jerry, it's not anymore. Like none of this stuff is fake. It's all inserted into the main game.
I mean, we did just venture into dungeons, and this is not that far off. So yeah, but like we also made fun of those cards.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like obviously
Look,
I hate that my brand is just negative, but all of this stuff in the span of a week, I'm like, this is the most vapid, soul-sucked, money-grubbing product on the face of the earth. That is just the way I felt this week. And I've never been that like flat out miserable about the state of things. I've been cranky for sure, 100% cranky, but something this week just like snapped me. And like I said, it's probably a bunch of the other stuff I have going on, but yeah, this one did it to me.
Yeah. I mean, dude, you're not wrong. I get it. I think that there are also a lot of people out there that can, sympathize or relate to you. Probably going through a lot of the same stuff, and I certainly am. I'm just like past the stage where I'm kind of like in acceptance. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like,
I mostly am too, but sometimes it's gonna well up and overwhelm, you know?
oh yeah, dude. I definitely feel that. But yeah, I'm just in a place where it's like, yeah, it's all goddamn nonsense. You are right. But when the new nonsense comes out, I'm not surprised by it. I'm just like, yep, this is the other nonsense that they came out with.
Par for the course.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Another thing I had happen was a buddy of mine who used to be one of my closest Magic traveling companions and lapsed from the game for 6 or 7 years or so, has just started playing Arena again. And he's like, hey, where do I go if I want to like figure out what's going on with the standard metagame and get sideboarding guides for standard and like, just generally who's got the good paid subscription now? And I'm like, boy, do I have some news for you. That is not a thing that exists, and nobody plays standard. I'm sorry. I wish I could help.
Yeah, I wish it could be us,
Yeah, that would be great. I mean, we have been to some extent. It's just there's not a lot to cover. There's those Magic Online events. That's about it.
Yeah. I think the next Arena PTQ is standard.
Okay.
For whatever that's worth.
Yeah, good. I look forward to that. I do. I honestly do. I'll reboot. My rage will subside. But man, in a moment where like things already felt very vapid and cash grabby, $1,000 boosters were not what I was expecting.
$1,000 boosters of fake cards,
fake
no
cards.
less. Like honestly, dude, if it was just like, yeah, we're reprinting beta, I would have been like, all right, like
yeah,
that's fine, that's cool, but to then have them just be like kind of useless, like obviously you can play in Commander or whatever, like no one's gonna care. Like people already commission like sweet proxies for Commander and stuff, and I think that that's rad, and I definitely like artists getting supported and everything, so that's cool too. But this just being like, you can't use these though, is just like, what the hell? Like
I hope this is like the come to Jesus moment for a lot of people where they're like, wait, I don't need your Magic cards. I can just make these. Like you are not providing me anything anymore. I appreciate the idea. And when you were a real company, I was happy to give you the money for this game I really enjoyed. But now I'll just make my own. Like who cares?
I don't know. I mean, that's been a thing for a while, man.
Yeah. Yeah, everyone has a line, I guess. And mine was soundly crossed. So
yeah. If you're not going to play in tournaments, then who cares?
It's a good question, Gerald. Who cares?
And capitalism blows, and I'm sure that if your friend needs to sell their only Commander deck or all of their Commander decks to, pay for medical expenses or surprise, car payment sort of thing, you get in a car accident or whatever, or like you need money for rent, and you're just like, screw it, I'm gonna just print off the same Commander deck that I had. Or your friends aren't gonna care.
Nope.
They're gonna be like, hell yeah, you sold your Commander deck for $5,000. That is awesome. Do that. Just don't go and buy 5 booster packs of fake ass beta with it.
Yes. I will also say too, if they hadn't said a bunch of times that they thought that doing this was against the spirit of the reserve list, then I'd be less concerned. I think there was a reason people suggested this as an option.
But they could argue either side of it for whatever fits their needs, right? They're like, oh, we're gonna, make $10 million off this, or maybe that's lowballing it. I don't know, whatever.
Yep.
Then you start arguing the other side, and I bet you can find a lot of compelling arguments. It's like, well, we'll make it a fake back. We'll make it so it's not exactly beta. We'll put a 30th anniversary thing. We'll make it not legal. Like you can figure out ways to come up with a set where you're like reprinting beta, but not if you want to.
If there is a crash anytime in the next year or two, I think they are going to find themselves in a lot of trouble. I don't know. I just think like the legal exposure they have in regards to this issue has been why this has been such a delicate topic. And I've mostly agreed that they have no outs. I think they were right to say, no, we feel really bound by this, and I don't think we're going to get away with this, and we're not going to break the reserve list, and we're doubling down. From a legal standpoint, from a risk management standpoint, I've always understood that, because I do think they have exposure. And I think they might have exposure now, given this decision, honestly. I don't think it's that clear, especially given things they've said in the past about what they feel the spirit of the reserve list says. So it's a risky move. It's a greedy move. It's not one I expect from what I've always seen as like a very conservative legal team on the part of Hasbro and Wizards of the Coast. I've always viewed them as extremely conservative.
It was like the strongest part of that company for decades, where their asses were covered on everything.
Oh, do you know what else I want to say? I'm so glad this came to me, because this is one of the things that I would have been upset if I didn't mention.
Hit me.
You've played Magic Online since the beginning, much like I have. 2002?
Yeah.
2001?
Basically.
Yeah, something like that.
2001, I think, was like the open beta sort of thing.
Yep. Yeah, I was right there with you. Sort of rekindled my love for Magic, a huge thing. And
it made me good at Magic.
Yeah, I agree. For the first, I believe, 13 years of that product existing, they did not put these iconic cards like Black Lotus, the Moxes, onto the platform.
Yeah.
Because in their words, doing so cheapened those products. Like that's what they said. They felt like it devalued the specialness of that product, like have them be a part of the digital platform. Eventually, they rolled them out. I have it as 2014 in my head, because I remember I got like my bonus from the law firm I signed on with, and I used it to buy power on Magic Online, which was like, it cost like $1,000 at the time. Now it's like pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, because they've reprinted them a bunch, obviously.
Yeah, why wouldn't they? So I think it was 2014 when the Moxen and Black Lotus finally did come to Magic Online. But like, again, that's something they said. Producing these cheapens them and makes them less special. And I agree 100%. But you also made money when you did it, and you're going to make money doing this. And isn't that what really matters?
Yeah, that was kind of interesting, though, because so first of all, I think they came out in Cube first, right? So they put the cards in the client. But there was no way for you to actually get them.
Yep. They were there for a few years, too, if I recall correctly.
And then they eventually came out. I mean, I know that they're in stuff like Vintage Masters later. I guess it was like Masters Edition, whatever, maybe 4 or something when they came out. And it made it so that you could actually play Vintage online. Before, it was Vintage, but no power. It's basically just like Legacy with like Oath of Druids and Necropotence or whatever. Yep. It was a very strange format. It was
weird.
Awesome format. I loved it. Not fair by any means.
Mm-hmm.
But then they released these cards and you could play Vintage, and like real life Vintage had a resurgence as a result of that, because more people could actually like play and practice Vintage, and people who were maybe hardcore online grinders got into Vintage because, you know, they're bored, want to splash around, whatever. And then they're like, oh, maybe I should go play this real life tournament.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah,
So
it was a cool moment, honestly.
yeah, it was definitely very interesting as like a retrospective, right? To like look back on it and remember what their stance was on the time. And like, I don't even remember why they said that they thought that it was okay to do that now. You know, maybe it was like we'd already put all the duels in Force of Will in the Masters Edition sets, and like we
Yeah,
needed something
maybe.
for the fourth one. But
Maybe. But that situation really speaks to like why I think I get so personally upset by these things is because if I reflect back on it, like all the tenets of TCG product management and uh, really all aspects of game design, like the people who are in charge of Magic are who I learned those things from. Like I looked up to their stances on these
that's
things.
not
And
true, though.
I
Like,
it really is. It
no,
really
no, no.
is.
Listen, it's not like Eric Lauer and Dave Humphreys are making the decisions to reprint beta. Like the R&D people are completely separate from the fourth floor brand and marketing people.
I I understand that, but I still have to see those people speak in favor of these things. And like I get it. You have a
I
job to
worked
do.
there, man. Like there was definitely shit I did not agree with, where I'm just like, yeah, this is
I
a good
know, and
idea,
I know there are tons of people there who feel the exact same way right now. Can't say anything. Nothing but love for them. I hope they never take this as a personal attack on them, because I know how hard it is to do the job, especially one where the company you're working for is doing shit you don't agree with. Because I've been there. Like I totally get it. It is a tough situation,
I
especially when
love,
they are giving you money and giving you a nice life.
yeah. I mean, it's a life, you know. It's like a B plus A minus life, I would say, probably.
Something to strive for.
I mean, probably a lot better than what we were used to as Magic grinders or whatever, right?
Yep.
Most likely. But
Yeah.
I love the third floor people. It's like Wizards R&D, Duel Masters R&D, a lot of the creative folks, artists, world builders, like that sort of stuff, right? I mean, granted, maybe stuff is like moved around a lot since I was last in the building or whatever. I don't know. But I love those people. And then all the stuff that I say that is like poo-pooing Wizards is basically not about them. You know? There's some issues with like Oko or Omnath or whatever, but a lot of that is also coming from like fourth floor directives of like make the cards powerful. So it's not even necessarily like their fault. Like they love Magic, same as we do. They just want to make like a cool, fun, awesome game. They don't necessarily care how the game pieces get distributed, and it's not part of their job description, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And it is like those are the people you learned from, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
It's
for the most part, but like there is an element of watching people say one thing and watching those exact same people say something different as time progresses. And maybe that is just, that's relative to their position within the company. Like maybe you could say something different when you were a third floor person and now you're a fourth floor person and you can't say that anymore. I get it. I really do. But it's that doesn't make it less hard to swallow. Like it's still disappointing and still frustrates me.
I feel you. I think someone like Aaron Forsyth, who I think is like pretty cool, pretty on the level, like, you know, he could hang out with the kids and it wouldn't be weird, right? But he's definitely got some of that corporate in him. You know what I mean? And it is not necessarily.
And he has to succeed at his job. Like that is essentially what his job is. So
yeah, he's a higher up.
I feel for him.
He's a higher up dude now. I understand.
It still sucks to hear and read, you know?
Right, but like I think that he has a lot of the same qualities that we respect, but then is also either like drinking the Kool-Aid or appears to have like drunk the Kool-Aid. You know what I mean? It's like you have some of that like corporate speak, and it's just like, man, like you used to be cool or whatever. But I know that Aaron is a good dude, and it's not him making all the decisions or anything. You know, it's not his fault.
I think all these people are good dudes, dudettes, anywhere else on that spectrum. I think they're all universally good people, and everyone wants to do a good job, and nobody's like
Yes.
actively looking to fleece people. It's just as a company, you are fleecing people, and
Right. But yeah, the individual is not the company. I understand when individuals sometimes speak for companies.
yep, it's
You know,
sticky. It's
it,
sticky and it's
yeah.
tough, and yeah, leads to a lot of weird communication things. So I do think it's like when I get fired up, I always want to take a moment to just kind of like step back to make sure it's clear that I
Why?
understand.
Why? No, you're supposed to just like slam the accelerator.
No, I understand. I really do understand. I have been there, and I do understand. I do feel for these individual people, and I never want them to feel targeted. But
Yeah, and I don't mean to single out Aaron either. It was just like he was the easiest representation I could think of for someone who was like maybe a person that you learned from that is now kind of like regurgitating corporate speak or whatever. And I could understand that disappointment, but it's like you talk to him like, face to face, and it's like he's still the same person.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm just like everyone else involved with the product is almost universally a good person. Every single person I've ever met who works with Wizards for Wizards has been almost universally a good person. So it's a hard thing to to contrast with the state of how they're doing business, but not really when you think about it. Like that's just how I, corporations are designed to do this thing. They're designed to maximize profits. When you go to your shareholders meeting and you say we expect sales to be flat over the next couple of years, and then your stock price drops 25% right after the meeting, like that's what happens. That's what this is all about.
Right.
And it puts you in very, very uncomfortable positions, especially when you're like the golden goose. You're the thing making all the money for the company right now. And yeah, a lot of successful careers have been launched through this moment in Magic. And I'm happy for them and I'm sad for Magic.
Yeah. I wouldn't like I kind of want to sell my collection, not like all the cards or whatever, but I definitely have a box of stuff that I want to sell to kind of trim down,
Hmm.
you know? And I don't feel like, oh, my modern stuff is in danger of a bubble bursting or anything like that necessarily. I don't want people to be alarmed or anything. But I totally understand what you're saying, what you're feeling, but like we've had this sort of discussion before where it's like, what if they killed the Pro Tour or whatever? Would competitive Magic still survive? Would we still survive? Blah blah blah. And I think that I don't even remember what prompted that sort of discussion or whatever, but I think it was a really healthy one where kind of figured out that those sorts of magic would continue not necessarily to thrive but like to keep going just based on like grassroots efforts and individual efforts and stuff like that. And we even now have a system in place. It is not a very robust system by any means, but it is there, right? And I think that to that end, those structures, whether or not they are officially endorsed by the company or not, are going to remain in place. There's going to be something, and I find it hard to believe that things will just plummet overnight, like unless there is like an actual Chronicles or something. It's like Chronicles 2, Electric Boogaloo, real card backs. These are legal. Like every $20 and up card in like Modern Legacy Vintage Commander or whatever, right? Like that would probably do it. But
Yeah, they're kind of already doing that. Honestly, like
they're
that's what
doing
the
a bad
masters
job of it,
get.
honestly. Like if what you're trying to do is like flatten out prices or at least like reprint $50 cards to get people excited,
I just think demand has been absurd. Like
they could
that
do a better job of it.
yeah, they fell into a moment where demand has been absolutely off the hook, and it's both organic demand as the commander space expands and speculative demand. I think that's a huge part of it, and I think you'd be unwise not to acknowledge that. I mean, so much of the business has been based around catering to that speculative demand. So
It is funny how it seems like the supplemental sets keep ticking up a little bit in price point
mhm,
MSRP per booster
mhm.
pack, where it's like, well, instead of a card, you're getting like a double-sided token, and now it's a foil token, and now there are like 2 rares a pack, and now there's like a foil in every pack. And like every time something like that happens, it's like an extra penny to them per booster, but then they charge you an extra $1,
Right.
to the point where, the collector booster packs are like $25 in 4 cards or whatever. And I was expecting like, oh, what's like $100 booster pack look like? Or whatever. They just skipped right to a K.
Yep. Leaping over that threshold. And I think it's probably all based on very careful economic research. I think they know their player base has dramatically evolved. I mean, it doesn't look like the people who were playing Magic 5 years ago, 10 years ago. It is a largely moneyed group that has like gone on to.
Or those kids grew up and like got real jobs because they're giant nerds.
I think it's both. I mean, and them being giant.
It's definitely both. Like there's new
them being giant nerds tends to put them into tech jobs, which are paying spectacularly right now. They're like the only jobs that you can still make money in as an American. So yeah, I think they have found their base, and their base has a lot of money, and they know that, and they want as much of it as possible.
One of the funniest things, man, when I was still in the building in like 2013, 2014, is at this point I was not playing many mobile games. Now I play a ton of mobile games. I just love them. I can't stand playing console games anymore because like the dopamine hits are not fast enough. You know what I mean? Like Final Fantasy 16 is coming out and like Forspoken or what, stuff like that. And I'm just like, nah, not going to do
Pass.
it. Yeah. And so back then I was not playing, and people were just like inadvertently talking about like Clash Royale and how much money it made, and like, oh, what's a whale, like that sort of thing. Like I was having those conversations for the first time, or like I kind of knew already, but hadn't really, I don't know, lived in that sort of world where like those words mattered to me. Like I knew what they meant or whatever. But then I heard that like this other story of like a third floor person telling a fourth floor person, some brand person, like how much money Clash Royale made last year or whatever. And it's like, what was it, like $1 million? And then it's just like, no, like $1 billion or whatever. And then they just like run to their dad, and it's just like they tell him this thing, and then that just becomes like the directive.
Yep.
In Wizards,
time to make Clash Royale.
Yeah, basically, and it's like they released like a Clash Royale clone eventually, right? But they're just like, what is this game? How does it work? Like, how the hell are they making so much money? Like, how do we do that? Because it's like the money they were making was good, right? But it wasn't like people tripping over themselves, just like hitting the like feed me dopamine now button, right? Because like Magic was a slow drip, right? Like a set every 3 months or something. And okay, you spend like $1,000, you have 4 of all the cards in the set, like, maybe you want the foil versions or something. It's like, okay, double that, sure, you're there. But there was nothing that was like, I would just spend like 10K to get like this yellow whatever the orc thing was from Neo,
yeah. Was it Hidetsugo? Hidetsugo,
yeah. That fella. Right. So then they're just like, oh crap, like games are supposed to be making money. And it was just like overnight, kind of like their culture changed. And
I believe that.
Yeah, that's just like what they've been chasing ever since then.
It's really interesting because in some ways they have evolved to the current state of gaming beautifully. They really have. Like they've just absolutely done a phenomenal job at becoming like this product that is constantly present. Its release cycles are absurd. There's always more Magic cards to spend money. Like it is for a very attention deficit disorder plagued generation. They are making a game of that nature where it's just more and more stuff and words on cards and 2 sides, and it's just bombarding you constantly. And
like as a person with ADHD though, playing Magic sucks,
Well, yeah.
there's just like so much stuff to like right now I'm tabbing through deck lists as we're talking.
But engaging with Magic, Gerald.
Yeah, and especially like Twitter, social media, just like pull down on your screen to refresh, like that sort of thing, right?
Yeah. It's wild. And I do think about it like in terms of game design, we in Flesh and Blood taking like a very different path, and
You're the slow drip.
yeah, giving sets time to breathe. But like, we just made a abandoned suspended announcement. Basically, a lot of it rooted in the fact that we do give sets time to breathe, and like the format was good, like actually very, very good. It's just been around for a long time, and it's like, well, maybe we should make some small adjustments just because it has been here for so long. And there's something to just the very rapid pace and the patch cycles of League of Legends and all these games as service things that Magic has adapted to very, very well for a cardboard product. And
You say that, but I think that was kind of the thing that they were doing bad for the last couple of years, was like not banning things fast enough, right? They're just like, oh, we don't want to shake up like player confidence or whatever.
From a competitive standpoint, you're absolutely right, but also they didn't care. They just didn't care about competitive. Like it was more.
That is fair, but you're talking about being tuned in to like the ADHD nature of a lot of people, and having like faster patch notes and like drips of dopamine and stuff, like new things, like change is good or whatever, right? Like they certainly could have taken advantage of that, banning things, months sooner, to at least have people get that new feeling, like new format feeling, right? Like standard rotation. Standard rotation is the funnest time.
I think they were on it, and I think the way they were on it was with Alchemy. I feel like Alchemy was they probably identified this specific thing that we're talking about, and said, Alchemy is our answer. This is how we're going to do it. And it was in an effort not to alienate people like you and I who are into the slow drip stuff. I think they said, well, slow drip doesn't work for a majority of people anymore, so we need to make the new thing.
Yeah.
It's Alchemy. Let's go. And again, theoretically, I think that's good. I also think Alchemy is heinous and terrible. But
it's heinous. It didn't have to be, though.
Yeah.
They
theoretically, it's sound.
Yeah, they could have made the cards like more in line with Magic cards, and less in line with the unstable card you read to me earlier. That was about assembling contraptions. And I think it would have been maybe not widely accepted, but I certainly would have accepted it. Like I was on board for a little bit, until it was like, oh, this is really cost prohibitive and all the cards suck and this is not fun in the slightest or whatever. But like they do come out with pretty regular patches where they're just like, we're buffing a bunch of zombies or whatever. And it's
patches and new cards. I've been seeing new Alchemy cards across my Twitter feed, and I wish they'd stop. If I could figure a way to opt out of Alchemy cards ever coming across my feed, that would be great. But they still show up. I still see them. Obviously, they're still coming out at a rapid clip.
Who's tweeting about Alchemy that you follow? That's your problem.
I'm telling you, the people you follow do not matter. It's just not a factor in what you see. 99% of what I see is from people I don't follow.
There's got to be something with your settings, man. Because like that stuff happens for me a decent amount, but that's not a large portion of my feed.
I will tell you that Twitter works very differently depending on what platform I am engaging with it on. So on my computer, my Twitter feed looks very different from what it looks like on my phone.
Yeah.
And that looks very different from what it looks like on my iPad. And I don't know why. I have no idea why.
Yeah. I mean, I almost exclusively use it on my phone.
Okay.
And
I bet if you logged in on your computer, you would find it look very different.
Maybe. I don't know. I still try and like keep the settings the same, where it's like do most recent. If people pop up where they're like tweeting about Alchemy or whatever, I just mute them. Like even if I'm not following them, but they show up on my feed, it's like, all right, I will mute this person. Because then they just won't show it to me again. And I mute like every advertiser. I mute or block. So I don't know, man. I'm like pretty aggro with how I curate things. Because if one person shows up on your feed tweeting about an Alchemy card and you don't mute them, it's like they might just show up again. Whereas like how many people are out there tweeting about Alchemy, right? Like you just mute 5 of them, you've got them all.
Yeah, but it's some of like normal people. I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't classify people who like Alchemy as abnormal, but just like people who aren't engaged with Alchemy stumbling across the card in the same way and just being like, what the hell is this? I
mean, sure, but just mute them anyway. What kind of interaction do you plan on having with that person?
Nothing. I should mute everyone.
Yeah,
That
okay.
would be the ideal move.
Great platform, Twitter. Like, you can maybe receive DMs from people you follow or whatever. You like
I,
opt into this person being able to contact you. I think
I
that
was musing the other day that Twitter must have a specific algorithm for game designers where it shows you specifically the most awful takes about your game,
yeah, I
like
did
just
see
the most
that.
backward one
I
possible.
did see that, which is interesting because I've been seeing some of your tweets recently, and that was not a thing for a while.
I've cracked the algorithm.
Or I did, because I just muted everyone else.
I'm the only one left. It's just me constantly in your feed.
Yeah, I think at one point I was talking to one of the cosplayers, and she said, like, oh, I just, mute and block everyone or whatever. I was like, how many people you got? And she was like, oh, I don't know, like, 2,000 or something. And I opened up my phone, went into Twitter, went into the settings, and it was just, I had 5,000.
Wow. Solid blocks.
Yeah.
Now I want to know how many I have. Well, how do I see this?
I haven't checked on PC, but through mobile, it's like device and then some like settings and then something about like privacy, maybe. Or
Okay.
let me check.
I'm sure this is, again, excellent radio.
This is great radio. Okay, so I go into settings and support.
This is like on the Apple screen, or okay, I see it.
Okay, and then I have to scroll down again, I guess, because Twitter's new. Go into settings.
Yeah.
Privacy and safety, mute and block. Blocked accounts, I have 4,700 on the dot.
Okay.
Muted accounts, I have 3,899. And I have 37 muted words. I think 20 of them are variations on Wordle. And then the other 17 are probably like NFL, NBA related.
Interesting. Okay, here are my stats. I am so much more kind than you. 72 blocked accounts, 32 muted accounts, 14 muted words, and it's this. The muted words are this bizarre suggestion.
It doesn't even work.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say there's like this weird, almost programming like language in my muted words that I must have picked up from somebody as like a way to get a more traditional timeline based feed, but I'm assuming they don't work. So,
oh, that used to. I know what you're talking about.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a thing where it was like, "Don't show me most popular" or something like that.
Yeah. I don't think it works.
I don't know if it maybe they changed so it doesn't work anymore. Now you have to like add a character because that's how programming works. But yeah, I don't know. Like I'll mute Wordle and then people will just be like, "Here's my Wordle" or whatever, and it'll still show up. And I'm just like, well, what the hell does this do?
I'm just picturing like, I don't even know what it's from, but just like someone just like jamming the Wordle into your face repeatedly at point blank range. Like you just can't escape it.
Yeah. And so you're seeing alchemy cards. I'm seeing Wordles despite me muting it, I don't know, man.
It's tough out there for us old guys.
I just don't care how good you are at your little puzzle thing,
No, I don't either. I like Wordle quite a bit, but I have never understood the sharing thing. It's very odd to me.
Well, I didn't get on social media for a very long time because I also did not understand it.
Okay.
Like, what the hell am I supposed to put as a Facebook status?
Yeah, I was similar. I remember resisting Facebook for much longer than most people.
It seems so like
self-indulgent.
Self-indulgent.
It is. All these platforms are, but like I do think humans are intrinsically self-indulgent, and like we obviously you can only experience existence through yourself. So there's always an element of human existence that will be reflected through these platforms, and I don't think I don't has to be negative.
I don't feel the necessity to then share that with other people. Like my experience is
he says on his podcast with 10,000 plus listeners to his 30,000 Twitter followers.
Yeah, 40,000.
Okay, yeah. You see, there's something about you that you want to share with like you want people to notice you, to notice your takes.
No, it was I started writing and I kind of needed to do this as part of my career.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
Right? Like you were perfectly happy having 500 followers.
I was.
And now you're pretty close to 15, I would guess at this point.
No, nobody likes me anymore. I have like 11,000.
Okay.
It's been there's just mostly a slow decline.
Probably gained some fab people, lost some fab people, or lost some
Yeah,
people.
That would be my expectation. Also, as I've slowly drifted towards just insanity, I'm sure that puts people off from time to time. So
occasionally,
what can you do?
Sometimes people really lean into that though.
Maybe. I'm hopeful.
You have to rubberneck the car crash when you're on the highway.
Right. Yeah. I also have cat pics now, which I feel like is going to open up a lot of Twitter doors for me. Like it just seems like something that could really take me to the next level.
There's 100 really hardcore cat picture Twitter people, and I would love to tap into that market, but I feel like if you do, you alienate the other 40,000 that follow me. So I don't do that.
I would have guessed far more than 100, but
well, it's like 100 people that I know, like 100 people that follow me. Obviously, like Twitter, the world is a vast place. There are a lot of cat fan accounts that are very popular.
Yeah.
But as far as like my feed, I feel like there are a select few amount of people who would be happy with me posting cat pictures on the regs. So I don't. Gotcha. And then I made an Instagram account when I got my cats, and I was posting, just my cats, a picture a day, but like no one followed it because like I don't know, Magic players don't really do Instagram. At least like the competitive Magic players, right?
Right.
Like if you're an Instagram person first and then like a Magic person second, that's a thing, right? But if you're a Magic player first, like a PTQ grinder or whatever, you're probably not on Insta.
Yeah, that seems reasonable.
So
this is disappointing news. I really thought I had tapped into something.
No, you'll tap into some, but it's like Fab. You're gonna lose some people over it. Dude, anytime you post about something you like that is not the thing that the person immediately wanted to see in that moment, then it's gonna be pros and cons. And I try and thread that line as best I can, which basically means I don't tweet. Instead, I just text you or Josh. That's it.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever tweet about the thing that people follow me for, which is ostensibly like Magic information. I can't tell you the last time I tweeted a useful piece of Magic information. I tweeted out my Lotus Field deck list, which was like basically stock Lotus Field. So there was that.
Nailed it. That's it. And, you're doing good tweeting.
That's all I got for the last like year and a half. Beyond that, it's like we got pawn pictures, pictures of synthesizers, some cats, flesh and blood stuff, and that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah, it's weird that you're bleeding people now. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're still tweeting about Magic. You're just complaining a bunch, which is fine. It's understandable. I get it. I probably would have unfollowed you if we didn't work together. But
right. Oh, I would never follow me. I think I would just drive myself. I'd be like, I hate this guy. What a piece of garbage. I'm done with him. Get him
bragging about his pond all day, bragging about how he saved a frog.
Yep. I'd be like, get over yourself.
Yeah, what an asshole. There's also some Brother War stuff. There's not a lot.
Okay, let's talk about it. I'm in.
There's 6 cards, I guess.
Yeah.
And then half of the backside of 2 of them.
Yep.
There are kaijus on all the lands, hence the Optimus Prime crossover. Even though it's not really a crossover, right? It's like they own My Little Pony. They did the My Little Pony box set thing. It's just like I expect them to do crap like that. I'm not mad at them. Whatever. I don't know who it's for, but I'm not mad at them.
I'm mad. I wasn't mad at the My Little Pony stuff for what it's worth. I own that.
I sold mine. I just auctioned it. I did own one.
Okay.
It was gently used after moving across country several times. Anyway, recruitment officer dub 2/1 creature human soldier 3 dub. Look at the top 4 cards of your library. You may reveal a creature card with mana value 3 or less from among them. Put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Last week, talking to Todd Anderson about Pioneer, and I was talking about how bad the white 1-drops were and how much Dauntless Bodyguard sucked. And he was like, dude, Savannah lines are tight. And I was like, yeah, we can do better. And then he also talked about like the weird corner case scenarios where it's like, oh, you played Dauntless Bodyguard on turn 7 to protect your thing that if they had a removal spell, they would have killed already, and it's just like, dude, that doesn't happen.
You could do that.
You could. It just doesn't happen that way, right? Recruitment officer honestly pretty similar to Dauntless Bodyguard. 4 mana is a lot. Like it does help you in those flooding scenarios, and this is pretty similar to Duskwatch Recruiter, which was a card that saw a decent amount of play.
A pretty incredible card, but a lot of that was like there was actual infinite available in conjunction with it. It's often been used in infinite scenarios, which I guess this could be too if it slots better into those type of spots.
Yeah, and Duskwatch also flipped, and you could flip it with things like Collected Company, and the backside making your creatures cost less was definitely good too. Like Duskwatch was good, and it was still like, I don't really want to play 4 because I don't want to draw 2
Right,
of them.
right.
Yep. So look, I played Duskwatch Recruiter. It was fine. It would have been way better if the ability wasn't pretty clunky. And this thing's ability is way more clunky. And I think Duskwatch also got any creature. Is that accurate? Because this is only mana value 3 or less.
I think you're right.
That's a small thing too. But occasionally you Duskwatch into like an Avacyn, I think. But whatever. Is this better than Dauntless Bodyguard? I mean, it is a human, so that's cool. If nothing else, you want to play your 13th or 14th like reasonable human creatures, you certainly can. You have options now. I think that this card is solid and fine and is more in line with the type of stuff that I was talking about last week, the type of stuff that I wanted. So it's interesting and cool to, in a very timely manner, see it on the previews, especially when there's only 6 cards previewed. And like, this is one of them. It's weird.
Yeah. A high medium is how I would define this card, and feels like it'll see some play. Totally fine. Kind of unexciting, but
yeah, not stoked. Like Evolve Sleeper was a thing where I'm like, hell yeah, this is tight, right?
Yep.
Surge Engine, 2 generic mana for a 3/2 artifact creature construct defender. This loses defender and gains this creature can't be blocked. 2 this becomes blue and has base power and toughness 5/4. Activate only if this doesn't have defender. 4 draw 3 cards. Activate only if this is blue and only once. So I talked about how much I liked Evolve Sleeper.
This doing it for you?
You don't have to do it on every card.
Yeah.
This is Mythic too, which is bizarre.
I think this card is really cool. I don't think it's all that good, but I do think it's very cool. I like these effects. I think this is like an interesting wrinkle on the Figure of Destiny Evolve Sleeper thing where you just have to dump it all in at once. I have a feeling like this set will play towards that. We already see some pretty big mana sinks, some mana production expected to come along with it. I don't know. I mean, I think like if you just want me to evaluate how this card fits into a metagame now, if it can block, like if a 3 power block is actually pretty meaningful, then I think this card could be good. And you play it early, you make that block, you trade 1 for 1, you scale up as the game goes on, get good value. You can end games with it really aggressively. Maybe you draw cards. I don't know how many cards this is going to draw. That seems very, very speculative to me, but it's there. It could happen. Mostly think this is like a good blocker early and then maybe a way to close games.
So there have definitely been decks where maybe your mana is weird. Maybe you're pretty close to like a colorless Eldrazi deck or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe your 3 colors and like won't have the mana all the time or whatever. Maybe you are relying on some artifact synergies. Maybe you want a thing that's 3 power for 2 mana, maybe for like crewing stuff like this Crew's Bankbuster, right?
Yep.
I see a lot of upsides for this card that's not necessarily printed on the card text, and like the first ability just being a single mana to like this can now attack and it can't be blocked. Like can't be blocked is pretty incredible for a like high powered cheap drop that you don't have to spend a lot of mana in. And it's just like you do it once, right? And then you don't have to do it ever again. I don't think this is bad. I do think it is weird that it's Mythic, but I don't know, maybe there's some other stuff going on with the set where I don't know, this at rare would feel a little weird or something. I don't know.
Maybe. I think I was reading these as until end of turn abilities, but they are just straight Figure of Destiny abilities.
No, yeah, it is. It is. It's artifact blue Figure of Destiny thing.
Yeah. Huh.
So
Well,
I don't
now
know,
I like it quite a bit more.
3/2 unblockable, not bad. Artifact synergies also cool. There's like the blue red deck that I was working on with like the mech and the automaton.
Yeah. I thought that deck was quite cool.
Uh, I thought it was solid. Maybe some good like one drop short of actually being good or whatever. But like this would help. This would fill out the curve, you know.
Yeah,
And
you might
then
be seeing that one drop in this set.
yeah, and then I don't know, like 5 power unblockable. Like yeah, maybe this card is better than I think. Queen Kayla Bin Krug, 1 R dub, 2/3, legendary creature, human noble, 4 tap. Words. Discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many cards. You may choose an artifact or creature card with mana value 1 you discarded this way. Then do the same for artifact or creature cards with mana values 2 and 3. Return those cards to the battlefield. Activate only as a sorcery.
I just think this sucks. I think this is way too many hoops to try and make like a fixed version of this effect. And like your upside is you gain +2 mana if you hit perfectly, and you have to
and draw cards
perfectly. Yeah, but you had to discard that many cards. You're not plus cards, right?
No,
it's discard all cards in your hand, draw that many cards. Yeah. So you're not up cards.
So you empty your hand until you have like a 1, 2, and 3, right?
Yeah.
And then you tap, you pay 4, tap this, ancestral, and just put those cards into play.
And then you get new cards. Okay, so I again read this card completely wrong, which, you know, you could take that as a slight on me, or the fact that I can't read Magic cards anymore and actually figure out what they can do.
Also, is there a thing where there's like a 1 mana card that has like, you have to pay an additional 7 to do this, but it's like not printed in the card's mana value? Like is, you know, like Phyrexian Dreadnought is a thing that's like really cheap, but has a thing that prohibits you from casting it on turn 1, right? Is there something like that, but it's just like this costs 7?
Maybe. I could see, particularly with artifacts, there might be something interesting along those lines where there's like an otherwise prohibitive thing that it does, but you can kind of cheat around it with this.
Like a lightning axe kind of clause. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that exists,
but that's interesting.
This seems more of like a fun commander build around than a standard thing. Anyway, Urza, Lord Protector, 1 UW, 2/4, legendary creature, human artificer, artifact, instant, and sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast.
Hurts. So many words,
bruh.
Sorry, go ahead.
We're not done.
We're not even halfway done with the first of 3 parts to this entire set. Yeah, please continue.
7. If you both own and control Urza Lord Protector and an artifact named the Mightstone and Weakstone, I feel like that card should have just been called the Stones, right? Because it's like, you know, is this just one card? Like, obviously, I'm looking at the card. I know it is one card, but you know, when I first read this, I was like, what? Anyway, 7. If you both own and control Urza and artifact named this thing, exile them, then meld them into Urza Planeswalker, activate only as a sorcery. And then the Mightstone and Weakstone is a 5 generic mana artifact that is legendary artifact Power Stone. Does that matter for Karn? Probably does, right?
I think so. I think he can tap Power Stones, right?
Yeah. When the Mightstone and Weakstone enters the battlefield, choose 1, draw 2 cards. Target creature gets -5/-5 until end of turn. It's just one of those 2. And then the other thing is tap to add CC. This mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. Melds with Urza Lord Protector. I was expecting there to be more options, but yeah.
Jerry, I think this actually fucking broke me. I think this is it.
Okay, and now to read Urza, I have to make it bigger. I have to click on the card and make it bigger because I can't read it because it's a Planeswalker with 5 abilities and a static. Good God. All right, Urza Planeswalker. 7 starting loyalty. It is both blue and white. Once during each of your turns, you may activate.
I can't, dude. I fucking can't.
Have you seen these cards yet?
Yes, I've seen them before, but something about you having to go through the process of reading them all is actually killing me.
Yeah, because first I have to read you, War and Peace or whatever, and then we get to actually talk about the cards.
All right. I'm pulling it together now. We can continue.
Once during each of your turns, you may activate an additional loyalty ability of Urza Planeswalker. +2. Should I? I'm not even going to read it. All right. I concede. There are 5 abilities. They all do shit. They like draw cards and kill shit and whatever. It doesn't matter.
They're really powerful.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, they do things. Yeah. Urza, Lord Protector, basically fails the 3-drop test. It has 4 toughness, so lives through some removal, so maybe it sticks around, but doesn't have any immediate impact on the battlefield. It is possible that you can try and meld it with this 5-mana artifact, which granted does like draw you some cards or kill a thing. Taps to cast artifacts, I guess, whatever. Likelihood that you get to meld them, very unlikely. There was another card I thought I saw. Maybe it was a fake card. Oh, there's also the Mishra card. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There's another meldy thing going on.
It's not on. Okay. I clicked a thing and it's just like showing me on the day that they were previewed or whatever.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right. Screw Urza. It sucks. I was going to go through like a long-winded way of saying that it sucks, but it does. Cool.
Cool.
All right. Let's talk about Mishra claimed by Gix. 2BR, 3/5, legendary creature, some words. Whenever you attack, each opponent loses X life, you gain X life. X is the number of attacking creatures. If this and a creature named Phyrexian Dragon Engine are attacking, you both own and control them, and have the NFT code or whatever. Exile them, then meld them into Mishra. Lost to Phyrexia, enters the battlefield tapped and attacking. Dragon Engine is a 3-mana 2/2. Artifact creature, double strike. ETB from the graveyard. You may discard your hand if you do draw 3 cards. Unearth 3/RR. Backside is a thing, whatever. The thing that I want to talk about with this was that I specifically remembered there being like an unearth part to a meld thing. And I thought that was dope as hell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because
cool effect.
Because melding these shits is hard. And it happened very, very occasionally in standard. And also, like, a lot of those cards were not cards that you were happy to put in your deck, pretty frankly.
I actually thought the first go around of meld was a huge failure. They did this awesome, like, ridiculous thing, and it just didn't really happen all that often and didn't feel all that exciting when it did, I guess. It was just kind of like game over.
So the land and the Hanweir's battlements and the Hanweir garrison or whatever was the closest thing. Because the land, like, once you had it, it just stuck around and there weren't a lot of ways to interact with it from the opponent's side, right?
Yeah,
so it was like,
sure.
All right, I have a piece and I'm just waiting for the other one, and maybe eventually this will come together. It'll cost a shit ton
probably
of mana.
happened more in limited than it did in constructed, I think.
Which is weird because they're rares, but for this, it's kind of the same thing where you have Mishra, and then you untap with the Dragon Engine in your graveyard. You can threaten the meld at any point. I think that's cool because that's kind of the problem. Like, Mightstone and Weakstone, artifact, probably going to sit and play, probably not going to get too harassed by your opponent. But there are a lot of cards that actually just kind of like deal with artifacts, and not a ton, but there are a few, right? And Urza taking 7 mana to do it is a lot.
Well, I'm going to stop you. I agree, but you can go Urza on 3, Mightstone, Weakstone 4, tap Mightstone, Weakstone on 5, make Urza Planeswalker. Like, it just curves perfectly.
It does, yeah. Mana can't be spent to cast non-artifact spells. So,
correct.
Like, yeah, you can activate abilities with it. That's true. But whatever.
I think that's cool. I like it. As far as a thing I actually like about the Urza Planeswalker, I think that setup is actually really neat, really elegant.
Yeah.
It only took 2,000 words to get there. So
word. But yeah, the Mishra thing, I don't know. Mishra, the card, probably stinks. I don't know what its backside does. It has like literally 8 lines of text. I just like the fact that the Unearth thing works with it. And I guess, you play Dragon Engine on 3, it's double striking 2/2, maybe it's threatening, maybe your opponent kills it, and then you have like Mishra into Unearth the thing like rolled up, like that curves perfectly too. So I think that those work out pretty well. There was also like Gisela and Bruna, which saw some amount of play, and like all
Yep.
these Lancers to set it up, and like sometimes that was nonsense. Like people did that, it was not good.
No.
But
What's interesting though is that like you talked about Magic just jumping in price from like the $30 boosters to the $250 boosters. I actually think the meld cards are doing the exact same thing, where the first incarnation of the meld cards were like extremely simple, and they were just like pretty basic cards on the front, and then they flipped into something at the back, which while powerful was again very straightforward. It just like did this one thing. Now the front side of Urza has two different effects. The Might Stone and Weak Stone, you choose between two separate effects, and then it becomes a mana rock. Then you have a 5 ability Planeswalker on the backside with a static ability.
that you can use twice. So like
that you can use twice. And then the Mishra side, both of these creatures are just like loaded with text. They do a bunch of different things. And then you choose from 3 abilities on the backside of the Mishra. So you went from 0, where you made kind of like a boring card that just ended the game, to a card that gives you 6 million abilities. And it's, again, too much. It's just too much. Too many words.
Yeah, you know what's supposed to happen when you meld stuff? It's like, I make this like big fancy card. It's supposed to like smash my opponent. And like, yeah, these cards let you win, right? But there's like too much thinking that goes into the making the big card and smashing your opponent.
Yep. Agree.
So I don't know. I like the Unearth tag on this. I think that is nice and good. That was it. I don't much care for these cards.
Right there with you. Too many words. No elegance. Somebody, like I said, there's some portion of the audience that is begging for more complicated cards. I just have to believe that, because we have jumped the shark so fantastically to have super complicated cards on both halves and then meld them to combine to another super complicated card. And I don't know, maybe you just feel like you can't make anything cool unless you put a lot of words on it anymore because you've used up all the other spaces. But
yeah. And then there's a bad Mishra's Factory.
Yes. Well summed up.
I think creature lands in Standard are generally overrated, at least the way that they used to make them, whereas all, Stalking Stones and Nantuko Monasteries and whatever, I think when they switched to like the Raging Ravine model,
scaling.
Well, not just that, but like tapping for colored mana.
Yeah.
Because the mana's never that good where you're just like, I'm going to jam a bunch of colorless lands into my deck.
I mean, Faceless Haven overcame that for sure.
Yes. But
there was a lot going on with Faceless Haven.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. It was also like, well, my mono white aggro deck plays 24 land, right?
Yep.
And you didn't have like a lot of like CCC stuff or even like CC stuff necessarily.
Right.
So it made it a little bit easier. Whereas, trying to, and those that also worked with monocolored decks specifically, right? Like you couldn't play the snow creature land in a deck with a stomping ground or whatever, right?
No, definitely not.
So this is kind of the same thing where it's like you can't play Mishra's Foundry in a Gruul deck because your mana is just too bad all the time. So I hope that this is a plant for, artifact, mostly artifact deck or whatever, or at least like very light color requirements, kind of like what the Surge engine points to.
Mm-hmm.
Then I'd be fine with it. But
I would be surprised if it's not. It's certainly the direction I see this set going.
But also, like, this thing is just not very powerful at all. So
no.
Also,
but that's good. That's good because Faceless Haven was so pushed. Like you
yes.
kind of have to go to this space when you're doing these colored lands, or these colorless lands.
Yeah, and also this is just kind of like a Modern Horizons sort of thing, right? Where it's like Mishra's Foundry. Okay, let's do a throwback to Mishra's Factory. Like, what kind of cards are people expecting to see in the Brothers War? Like, the Might Stone and the Weak Stone.
Transformers is
Optimus Prime, obviously. Yes. Right, yeah. So it's like, all right, we have to do a Mishra's Factory throwback. And it's like, well, let's just make it bad. Okay.
Not everything has to be good.
No, you have robots on the mountains and stuff. So, that's
robots in disguise, Gerald.
I mean, there is a robot kind of like in the tree and like a dragon hiding in a mountain. So sort of, yeah. They're doing their best.
Yeah, I'll count it.
Yeah, not even a lot of time with Dominaria before we enter preview season again. So we're still on track.
And we skipped like all the stupid preview seasons. We didn't do Warhammer preview season. We didn't do Alchemy preview season.
I opt out. And I hope that everyone else does too. I know that there are some like very active like Commander players that also listen to the podcast. And I'm sure that they did not, because they can't really, those things affect their format. So
yeah, that's wild. They just need to know about everything.
Yeah.
How do they keep up?
They haven't played any good mobile games. That's why.
Okay, good choice.
Look, dude, before I, played mobile games, I played a ton of Magic Online. It was literally like 8 hours of Magic Online a day.
And now, gotcha games.
Well, yeah.
It's an interesting evolution. I'm here for it, though.
It's not as good of a gaming experience, but it gives me the good brain chemicals. That's all I really care about. That's what the game is. Yeah, the game is just a means to an end, right?
I'm with you.
I don't know, man. Other than that, like, do you feel better after this, or like how is all the other stuff going?
Things have not been good. Obviously, I had to put Kai down this week, which was just one of the worst things I've ever done in my life, and still extremely sad, extremely empty. But that
is your dog, for the record, for the people who
I have had a lot of people reach out, with similar experiences or on the verge of similar experiences.
Yeah, I believe that.
I am happy to share and talk about it, as hard as it's been. But it is good to come on and kind of not take things too seriously. Like, one of the things about saying my rage out loud, it makes it seem so much like less worthwhile and so dumb. Like, it's just like really not important. It's a silly game, and like I shouldn't take it as seriously as I do. And I get to kind of like have fun with it. So speaking it kind of manifests it into something that feels less serious, and just like letting Urza break me, that honestly feels good. Like,
honestly, man, you needed that laugh. So
yes. So yeah, it's all going to be fine. Magic is in a death spiral, but it'll still give us some good times until we get to the end of it, and that's what I'm here for. Just enjoying the ride, baby.
I mean, you should sell all your cards though. Like, if you're not using them, you might as well.
I think I agree.
I got decks for you.
Okay.
Not going to be foil. They're not going to be double sleeved. But
get ready for that arena deckless fire sale.
Yeah, that's the thing that Twitter's good for, is like selling Magic cards.
That is true. Okay, we're onto something. I need to hire someone to do this. I'll never do it. We all know this. Like,
I mean, I got some people. I got some people I can hook you up with. They'll do it for you.
Yeah, that's the way to do it.
Anyway, man, I'm sure that there was, a lot of emotion also backing up your thoughts on all of this stuff too. It's not just like, oh, these things don't matter, so who cares? Like, once I say it out loud, it sounds silly, and to some extent that's true too. But it's like, obviously you've been going through a lot too, so I'm sure that it makes it easier for the fuse to get ignited when.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially when it's like the fourth just ridiculous Magic related thing, and you're just like, I've respected this game and this company for so long, and blah blah blah, and they constantly
half respected, like half respected.
Yeah, respecting aspects of it and the people, and
yeah.
Obviously, there's always some bad stuff, but you know what I mean.
I feel you, and I hope if nothing else, I hope people get to listen and like feel a little bit more sane. Like, it's okay to be upset by this stuff. I think there's like this narrative that circulates that just like, oh, it's not for you, shut up and let people enjoy it. I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, there's got to be a level of brazenness that we don't just accept and be like, well, somebody's going to buy it, so it's totally fine. I don't believe in that for a second. You can make exploitative products. You can make products that just don't fulfill the needs of your audience. You can make a very successful product that doesn't actually fulfill the needs of your audience, and Is this the way I would choose to celebrate Magic's 30th anniversary? Absolutely not. I think it's actually disrespectful to Magic's legacy in a lot of ways, because
uh,
like if you
I
like
agree with that so much.
if you've listened to what Richard Garfield has said over the years, and this is like just me reading between the lines, I really think there's an element of regret to what he feels he's put forth into the world as far as like the collectability aspect. Because he did not envision the game going this way. You know, it was the thing you buy a couple booster packs of and a starter deck, and then you'd have your Magic cards forever, and you'd have fun between rounds of D&D. And I don't think he really knew what he was unleashing upon the world when putting together the idea for the first TCG. But I do always sense this element of like regret in his words when he speaks about it. So yeah, an unfortunate way to celebrate his tremendous legacy, I think.
I mean, yeah, it's similar to the comments that Jesper made too, where it's
Yep.
just like this is not in line with how things were back in the day, and capitalism basically took over and did its thing, and that's sort of the world we live in. And like for the most part, I do agree with the notion that it's like these things are not for us, and rather than complain about alchemy or Warhammer or whatever, I can just shut up about it because the
Yep.
world doesn't need as much negativity. And I think that I would much rather be known for like spreading positivity or at least encouraging it. But at the same time, that's true if like Morbius sucks or whatever. I won't speak to that because who cares? But like this is a thing, magic, that is not necessarily just a game. Like you're talking about how, these things are small or whatever. They seem small once you say them out loud, and that's true. But it's been a lifestyle for us and it
Yep.
has encapsulated my life.
Yep.
And while
Foundational part of our lives for sure.
right. While other people may not have the same experience, I hope that they can at least understand and respect that not necessarily when they put like a Transformers die in the thing, but when they start selling $1,000 fake beta booster packs, that like it speaks to something being wrong and something I don't like and something that does not bode well for the future of this thing that I've spent the majority of my life participating in, with, and around, and like where my job comes from, where my friends come from. This is a thing that I love, right? And I just did a written interview with someone the other day, and I'll tweet about that when it comes out. But like one of the things that I ended up putting as an answer to one of the questions was like talking about how just like protective I am of like magic and the community just in general, right? Because it
Mhm.
is this thing that I care so much about. So when there are these things that are red flags speaking to something bigger, I'm going to give a shit about that. And sometimes it will involve me nitpicking the small stuff just to be like, yep, here's another thing. This card has a scroll bar on Arena or whatever. And then some of it is speaking to like the big stuff where I'll do things like protest worlds or whatever, which is speaking to like the larger problems at hand. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And all of the complaining comes from a place of care, basically. So this is not negative for the sake of us being negative. And to that end, I will also pick and choose the things that I complain about and how much I complain about them. Because harping on something like a Transformers die in a vacuum, it does seem like small or petty or whatever. But when you are only talking about like the big things or talking about a series of things that point to a larger issue, I think that that resonates more with people. And then they don't see it necessarily so much as just like baby whining, but as, I don't know, some smaller, weird, insular community form of activism or whatever. I don't know.
Yep.
But I think that's why like a lot of the times when I tweet, it is complaining. It's similar to like how you are. But then I asked a while ago whether or not like people thought that my Twitter feed was like positive or negative, and it was like overwhelmingly people said positive. And that's why, is because they know that I'm like fighting for change or whatever. And it's like I am an optimist. And it seems like if you're complaining incessantly, then you are a pessimist. But that's not the case. It is the fact that I see how things could be so much better, right? And that's what I care about. That's what I strive for.
Beautifully said. No notes.
So yeah, complain about the die in a vacuum as like a singular tweet or whatever. Yeah, maybe it's small, but it's like a lot of stuff we're talking about speaks to the bigger picture. And I think the fake beta stuff kind of like really hammers that home, honestly.
It's also a lot of pattern recognition, right? Like
Yes.
all of these things are related and they're all leading to the same terminus.
Right. And that's the thing that you and I can pick up on because we've been involved. Like we talked about Magic Online since 2001. And you talked about how they didn't want to release power on Moto because it devalued how special they were. And it's like, we wouldn't notice that unless we were in it, man. Yep. And we've been so in it for 20 plus years, right?
Decades. Yeah, decades and decades. And I hope like that is, you know, I often question like the value add I still have at this point, but then I reflect on it and like, no, actually there is a lot that I can still bring to the table. And it's that 30 years of experience. Like that is worth something. And at all sides too. Now it's like having worked for multiple game companies and having played forever and, you know, played as a casual player when I was a kid and been there from the beginning of the entire TCG era. Like there are, but there's also a lot of people who don't have the 30 years of experience in this world that I do at this point. And
right.
That's what I'm sharing at this moment now.
They're like, dude, I listened to a 10-minute YouTube video about the history of TCGs or whatever, you know, yeah. Like I know just as much as you. And it's like, like you weren't there, you know?
Yeah.
We were actually there. We noticed the stuff, but counterpoint is that I think all of our knowledge and experience might just be irrelevant because things have changed so much.
Maybe that's always an issue, right? Like, are you just a dinosaur? And I do consider that as well, for sure.
Yeah, it's like that's what they said in 2012, but that was a decade ago, and maybe their thoughts and feelings on it have changed a lot. And obviously, money has a lot to do with that. Money can change your mind real quick. So maybe that's just where they are now, and us waxing about how they felt 10 years ago just doesn't matter. It's just noise. I don't know.
What is a podcast if not just noise?
Game.
Good luck.